Welcome back to Switch to Linux. So today we are going to have a look at using Virtualbox in order to test out some Linux distros. So I was actually going to record the video and then just upload the video as usual, and then I got through the recording and then I was previewing what I had. And wouldn't you know it, I made one big major error. And that one big major error is that I was using my cool new OBS setups, and I totally forgot that when you are sharing a window over OBS, it will not display pop-ups. So if you are using OBS and you're wanting to show pop-up windows, be warned of that. It will throw you for a loop. So I had an entire section where I was talking about doing all of the settings, and you can't see any of it. So there we go. All right. I know you guys all realize I said I wasn't going to live stream again until Friday. Well, yeah, it's just easier doing a live stream sometimes than it is doing the recording and then processing and then uploading, all that. So good thing I made my tea, which I already had, and now I actually have a lemon lime seltzer water here. Actually, I make my own seltzer waters, that's pretty fun. So we're going to go ahead and get into using our Virtualbox. And this time I am not going to show all of the cool, fun stuff. Cooper Tech, no Sasquatches. You and your Sasquatch bait. And if you're curious what we're talking about, watch my video from earlier today. He's talking about some Sasquatch carrying me off through the woods because I recorded the last one. Obviously, you can see I'm back in the office. The Sasquatch did not get me from the woods. LOL. All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and switch over to show my screen here, and we're going to boot up Virtualbox, and we're going to walk through how to get all your settings going. So I did a couple major goofies when I was, as I had said, if you just came on, I was trying to set this all back up on an actual recorded video, but it also occurred to me that I titled the thing, including on the banner titles and everywhere else, using Virtualbox to do Linux, and I did everything in like Windows. But if you want to know how to set up Windows 98 in Virtualbox, we can do that today too. It depends on who's on, who wants to see what. The downside is I actually only have like one Linux distro on here because my SSD is only 120 gigabytes here, so I don't have a huge distro library here. But on my other computer I do, and I thought I had them on my NAS drive, but if they are there, I have no idea where they are. So we're going to go ahead and walk through your Virtualbox setup. And now, I guess before we get into the Virtualbox setup, why is it we use Virtualbox? Why not VMware? I hear that argument a lot. And a lot of it has to do with licensing. VMware is a commercial product. I could use it for free at home to do home stuff, and you're welcome to do that if you really like it. But to use it on a video, you actually need... predicts Windows 98 will crash and take Virtualbox with it. Well, actually, Windows 98 runs pretty well on a Virtualbox because, it's just so much better than it used to be. And there's no internet. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't had it crash too much, but maybe occasionally. Virtualbox is not a bad program. It may not be the absolute most perfect ideal, but if you're just wanting to spin up Linux distros to see how they are, Virtualbox is a great first place to go, especially if you have system resources. Now, talking about system resources, I have a Mac Mini down here, and my Mac Mini happens to have, it's like the lowest line Mac Mini you can get. I have Virtualbox on there, and it's pretty much unusable. So if you're running something without a lot of system resources, yeah, it's going to be pretty bad. But here we're actually talking about utilizing Virtualbox in a computer that is designed for it. I designed this computer to do live streams, to do video processing, to do other video interaction, to do some media and things like that, and to use VirtualBox for this. And so I have 32 gigs of RAM in here. I can assert a lot of resources to it and still not have a problem. And so we're going to walk through how to do that. Now, even if you don't have a computer this beefy, my laptop, which runs 8 gigs of RAM, runs VirtualBox perfectly fine. And so we're going to go ahead and walk through all that. Oh, Robert, by the way, my name is Tom, not Steve, but that's quite okay. Version of VirtualBox 5.0 32 underscore Ubuntu R 112930. Okay, how do I check for errors? Why don't we go through that? Why don't we, let's see, can I live stream while I download a distro? Probably not. We'll just do that. Oh, no problem, Robert, no problem. All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. We're going to remove it. I'm just going to right click, delete all files, which will delete the box that came with it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and hit new. And this will give us our dialog for our new VirtualBox. And so I'm just going to call this Test Linux. Now, I am not going to put a space in the name. And the only reason I'm not is we're going to use the command line interface to bump the video memory up to the maximum, which is 256. I have a 4 gigabyte dedicated video card in this computer. I'm pretty sure I can give up a little bit more memory. And then we're going to go ahead and say we're going to install Linux, and we'll go with Arch 64 because OB Revenge is the only Linux distro I have on the computer right now. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. We could go into expert mode, which gives us a lot more options and settings, but I find that even that still does not give me all the settings I want, so I just proceed with the basic mode. So here, select the amount of RAM. Recommended 768 megabytes. Not going to be sufficient. I'm going to go ahead and give this guy 8192 RAM. 8 gig hard drive. I think that'll be just sufficient. We can leave the hard drive off for now, or we can create the virtual hard disk. We're going to go ahead and create. We have a virtual disk image is the main option we're going to use. The other options, and I don't even know what all these options are anymore. In fact, there's a few more on there that I've seen before. But I just stick with the basic one. If you need the more advanced ones, you know, there's internet research to can figure those out. But we're just talking about testing Linux distros, so this is going to be sufficient. So dynamically allocated versus fixed size. You want to keep it on dynamically allocated. The difference here is dynamically allocated means it will allow up to this space, but it does not use all that space right away. Fixed size is going to take a little bit more time. It's going to really set the disk exactly for that machine. It's going to take a lot more time, and it's going to eat up your disk space, especially since we're not going to be doing much with this. All right, now we have to give it the size of the hard disk. We're just going to go ahead and keep with 8 gigabytes, and we are going to create. All right, so we'll go ahead and get caught up on the comments over here. All right. So, comments, is it better to download distros by torrent, and how do you check? I do the torrent option when it is possible, and on Linux Mint 18, I have transmission installed by default, and I do that because I can usually get a whole lot better download rates, especially if I'm not downloading alternatively from like SourceForge, which usually takes 4 or 5 times as long. To verify a distro, I go into the terminal, and you can do SHA-256 or whatever they give you. If they give you an MD5, you know, you can just type in whatever the thing they give you. SHA-256 is the comment, so type in the code and then some, and then I usually navigate to the root of the download, either download folder or whatever, and then name of distro.iso, and then that will shoot you out a number. And then if I'm really paranoid, I'll actually open up a LibreOffice Sheets and drop the two numbers in there, the one they give you on the website and the one that this code spit out. And then I can actually do a checksum formula in LibreOffice. Usually I don't go that crazy. I usually check the first digits. I check 4 or 5 strings of letters in the middle. I check the last digit, and that generally tells me it's okay. Just a quick visual inspection. So I usually use torrent if it's an option, and then I just use this option right here to verify my images. That way I don't have to get into all the other things. I know some things have some interesting stuff. Well, we're going to go ahead and keep the terminal open for now. Yeah, for those curious about the Sasquatch comments on here, I did a video today kind of in the woods, and it was up earlier today on Give Tech a Break is the name of it. And yeah, Cooper Tech was worried a Sasquatch was going to come and haul me away. So, you know. All right. If torrent comes from Distro's website and if the ISO matches checksum, it's usually okay. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. VirtualBox 5, but I can only run 32-bit ISOs. Check virtualization in your BIOS. That usually prevents me from doing things like adding more processor cores, finding the thing better. So if you're finding VirtualBox sucks, go into your BIOS at startup and verify that you it's going to notice that my stream had canceled or whatever. So I don't know. And so check the BIOS settings. If that's not the case, I haven't encountered anything more. So that is that. Fishman Loves Linux had similar issues. The only other issue that I've had is I keep my Linux Mint at kernel 4.4, I think. Anything above that, I can't get VirtualBox to work at all, at least on the other computer. No problem. Grins and troubling little teeth. The NSA is after you again. Oh, for what this time? Are they deploying their mad Sasquatches to find me in the woods? Okay. All right. So with our terminal here, what we are going to do to increase the RAM, because we cannot hold on. Let's go through the settings first. We're going to close the terminal for now. So with the machine over here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the settings option. Virtualization should be turned on. Turn on virtualization. Sometimes if virtualization is turned off, it will not let you run it at all. Sometimes it's just a matter of it will not allow you to add extra cores. And also virtualization for those following my cubes tutorials. If you're trying to run an HVC, which is a standalone VirtualBox inside of cubes, you also have to have virtualization turned on, otherwise you're going to get an error. All right, so inside my settings here, and this is the part that got totally bungled on the other video. Of course, we can change our basic information, including encryption. I'm going to go down to Settings and Processor, and I like to give it as many cores as I can, so I'm going to up the cores to 4. And then under Display, of course, we want to max out the video memory. Now, in the GUI, you can only go up to 128. We're going to use the command line to bump that to 256, but we can't do that from here. But I bumped that up all the way, and then I'm going to enable 3D acceleration. And everything else, just keep it off as it is. Now, here is, I have no idea, why did it give me an IDE virtual, I don't know. Anyway, here, knowing your operating system, like if I wanted to install Windows 98 on here, I'd have to make sure that all of my controllers are IDE. For those that were, you know, like born after 2000, we had this old thing called an IDE, and actually I have a box of computer stuff, and of course I just spilled a box of DVDs. this big box of DVDs that just got totally spilled out when I did that. So I knew I should have put that thing somewhere else. And I think it ended up breaking the tab that used to keep those DVDs in one place. That'll be interesting. I'll mess with that later. Let's see, I should still have an IDE cable in here. For those unfamiliar with IDE, I think I kept one just in case I ever needed it. And if I did, it's at the very bottom of this box. No, but there's an IDE hard drive. Let me go back into full screen there for a second. All right, so here's actually what an IDE port would look like. So you had your IDE port over here is this big guy with tons and tons of these. This, of course, was your power. And this guy here is actually indicates if it was the master or the slave. So you'd have to pull that jumper out and indicate whether it's the primary master, the primary slave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so you have that kind of stuff in the old settings. Well, old operating systems like Windows 95, Windows 98, you had to be on an IDE controller. You cannot install those with a SATA. So depending on what you picked when you started, we picked a 64-bit Arch Linux. It, for some reason, thinks that we want our controllers on IDE. And so it gave me an IDE drive there. I'm actually just, no. We're going to remove that. I do not need some silly IDE controller. Of course, you got to see what I'm doing here. So what I did is these buttons down here at the bottom of the screen will add and remove hard disks and add and remove controllers. So we're going to go ahead and hit add a CD-ROM. We're going to go ahead and leave it empty. Everything else should be fine. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to boot up a terminal on Linux Mint. You can hold Control Alt and press T and get a terminal. And we're going to do a VBox manage. And then I think it's modify VM. And then we have to give it the name, which is, in this case, test Linux VRAM 256. And then you'll see that it didn't look like it did anything, but now check your video memory, and you're now at 256. So now we have our system set up. Now, on a system like this, I have an optical disk, and I have a drive inside the computer. So I can click on optical drive. And if I come over here and type in host drive, this will actually allow me to boot off of or utilize my CD-ROM for the computer inside this virtual machine. We can remove the disk from the drive and take that out, or we can choose a disk image. So the guys here are going to be the most currently used images. You can choose disk image as well. So you'll see I have React OS, Windows, and OB Revenge is the only Linux. So we're going to go ahead and pick that. All right. Unfortunately, Linux users never rage. Okay. Several reel-to-reel tapes as storage. Nice. I actually still have some IDE hard drives with storage on it, and I have a Mad Dog. It's an external IDE hard drive container. That thing ever dies, though, I'm done. Zip drives have feelings, too. This is a funny story. I was working on my, it was either my candidacy exams or my comp exams for my doctorate, and I was still at that time using zip disk for everything. And like the day before the exam, my zip disk failed. And that was the first time I ever bought a USB drive. And it was huge. 128 megabytes. That thing was bigger than the zip disk, man. But in college, I actually had half my CD library on zip disks. So I had my computer there, I had my iOmega zip drive sitting there, and I had these zip disks with MP3s and then I'd play my MP3s off of zip disks on my computer. I was the most tech advanced guy on the floor. It's awesome. Punch cards. Yeah, punch cards are fun. Tries to sell Fox a player piano. Oh, boy. All right, so let's get back over here. So now we have our optical drive in here. Everything is set up. Video memory is maxed out. We're just going to come up here to the top and go ahead and hit start. So now we are coming back up here, and it boots into our booting screen here. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and push the boot. And then what it's going to do now is just kind of boot the system directly from the ISO image that I have downloaded. And then you'll see it'll readjust its window size accordingly. All right. So now if I actually adjust things, they have the Virtualbox extensions on here. So if I'm going to hold Control, hit F, that'll go into full screen mode, and then it should actually go in and resize itself. It may not. I thought it would. That's the first time it never has resized itself for me. Let's see what happens here. So if it doesn't automatically resize, it means, okay, well, there we go. Now we're resizing itself. Okay, now we'll Control F. Control F will get you into full screen and not. All right, so now it's working. Now it's working indeed. All right, so now what I need to do is I need to come down to here. There. Grab my stuff there. All right, we're just going to go ahead and move my image down that way. So now we are logged in. So we are using this as a LiveCD. So this would effectively be the same thing as using a live key. And so you can come in here, do whatever you need. You can, of course, install it. I think if I go back to the welcome screen, I can install the system somewhere, I thought anyway. Yep, software installation, update system. Not exactly sure where the installer went. Maybe the installer's not on this one. Oh, yeah, there it is. So I can install Obi Revenge right here from our menu there. All right. Thirsty Fox. Welcome to Linux. Things will get better. Yes, they will. All right. So here's your installer. So we could actually go through and let's go ahead and install this. I don't think this one takes very long. I'm going to go ahead and erase the disk. There's really nothing there anyway. Wait. Sasquatch. There. I'm going to be the Sasquatch. Just for you, Cooper Tech. All right. So now we're kind of working on that. Yeah, daily usage on Linux is just kind of getting much better. You know, I still do my work on a Windows computer for the most part. Most everything else is running on Linux. Of course, this one's Linux Mint KDE back here. I'm recording this on Linux Mint Cinnamon. You know, I just like Linux Mint. It does a good job for me. Doesn't do a good job for everybody, but I absolutely love it. All right. Dances with a bandit. Yep. Yeah, trying to pick a distro and using it. Yeah, we all have that problem of trying to pick the distros. Some people are notorious distro hoppers. I'm not. I kind of find what works for me and stick with it. Of course, you know, I do all these different distro reviews as well, and that kind of gets me more familiar. But really, a distro comes down to the installer, the desktop environment, the basic setup. The appearance can be a big thing, which for most people, desktop environment. So this guy over here, you know, I have this guy set up just beautifully. It's a sleek, elegant looking thing. I have an entire video on this this computer, in fact, how I built it and set it up and everything. So there we go. Let's see if it's still kind of working there. Let's see. I'm going to hold Control, push F, and just kind of reduce the size of this guy here. Just kind of move it out of my way a little bit. Let's see if there's anything else we want to do. Do you guys want to see Windows 98 booted up on this bad boy? Should we do a Windows 98? Oh, I got Windows 95 right here. Oh, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about an older operating system. Let's see. My household is now Linux exclusive after Windows 10 traumatized me. Time I work with Windows these days is the occasional client. Yeah, I hear that. More just trying to figure out what the best option is for software availability. Thirsty Fox, what are some of your software things? What are some of the software stuff you're looking for? We can talk a little bit about that. Can I post my specs? What if I just do system info? All right. So here's my system info, Linux Mint 18.1, Cinnamon 64, basic specs, Core i5 3570K, which is running at 3.4 gigahertz. I have 32 gigs of RAM. My hard drive is a SanDisk 120 gigabyte SSD. I'm using an AMD Radeon R7 graphics card, and if you bought that from Best Buy, then you actually had the option to get the large form factor 4 gigabyte onboard, powered with a fan, 3 different outputs on the back. It can support up to 2 HD monitors, which is what I'm running right now. All right. Uh-oh. I'm actually not going to do Windows 95. The reason is Windows 95 disk did not actually have DOS prompt on it. Hey, we're gonna quit and shut down. So this guy's actually done and ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and shut her down. One thing the Arch installer does not do is it does not remove the disk. Ubuntu installers will remove the disk. So I have to come into the optical drive and remove the disk, and now if I boot this up, it will boot directly up into the distro. Okay, anyway, I was saying Windows 95 actually does not come with a DOS bootloader, which is required. Windows 98 does. Now, if I wanted Windows 95, what I'd actually have to do is boot the computer with the Windows 98, because this has a DOS prompt, and then take out the disk, put in the Windows 95, and run the execute from the Windows 95 disk once I'm booted into DOS. I could do that. All right, so here we are. We are now in OBS Revenge. This is now running from the virtual hard disk on the computer. All right. AMD, impressive. Do I like Intel? You know, I kind of like whatever works for me. I think that this computer is running an AMD. I do not know what processor, but it's running an AMD. I think every other computer in this house is running an Intel. In fact, every other computer in my house is running a Core i5. This is Core i5. My Windows computer is Core i5. My Mac is Core i5. My other Linux Mint computer is Core i5. I think I have an Intel in my netbook. I can't remember. I just kind of like whatever I like. Yeah, I've never actually gotten into booting a Mac on something else. Mac still kind of scares me. Install Windows 98. Attempt to install AOL with dial-up. I'm not sure I'll get that far, but we can at least look at the installer for Windows 98. So let's go ahead and shut this down. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new And we're going to call this Wind Blows 98. It will automatically detect that we're Windows and 98, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Oh, man. We're decking this bad boy out. We're going to give this guy 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah. Wants a 2 gig hard drive. That sounds good to me. Sure. Dynamically allocated. Yeah. All right, now we're going to go into my settings. We're going to go ahead and beef this bad boy out. We're going to give this guy 4 processor cores. It's going to install before it knows what it's doing. Oh, yeah. Now, the one thing is the video drivers do not work. You actually have to go and find some video drivers online for a VirtualBox, which you can actually do. Okay, but now that we have our Windows system, let me go ahead and verify my controllers. Yeah, it gave me a floppy disk. Beastie. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and click on Virtual Drive, pick the host from my computer, and we are going to put Windows 98 disk in the drive. I still use Windows 98 at work. Do you have a time machine? Oh, does it explode at 1 gig of RAM? Uh-oh. The cool thing about VirtualBox is if it explodes at 1 gig of RAM, I can shut the machine down, change the RAM, and boot it back up. All right, we're going to go ahead and start. Hey, look at this. Look at the audio support. It gave me a Sound Blaster 16. You guys remember Sound Blasters? Yeah, look at this. All right, and my mouse is now captured by Windows 98. Press Enter. Configure allocated disk space. No, do not use large. Press Enter to continue. Oh, you know what? There was a problem. I think I gotta remember how to do this now. I think I have to, let's see. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, formatting drive. Look at that bad boy go. If Windows computers ran this fast when we were using them, we might have all stuck with Windows 98. Look at this bad boy go. Continue. Zoom in. Typical. Why not? I know there's no spyware on this. I do have to track down my OEM number. I think it might be on my official manual for Windows 98. And I got one for Windows 95 also. All right, well, this is installing. Let's, I gotta right click my thing to get out of there. This thing's like going, man. Look at that, 50%. Install Windows 98. Attempt to install. Hi, Ryan. How are you? Older automation controllers need Windows 98 and a serial port. I wish I still had a COM port on a computer because I actually had a... I still have my old TI-85 calculator backups, and I need a COM port to interface with it. Have you ever seen a Windows computer install that fast? Not show this message again. Yeah, we're going to restart now. Inefficient memory. Yep, apparently it does blow up at 2 gigs. We're going to go ahead and change the memory down to 1. Actually, let's give this thing, let's make sure this thing's in good shape. We're going to give it 512. We are installed. Oh, do I want to accept the EULA or should I read it first? All right. Now I have to enter my serial number, which you guys can look at the bodacious kitty cam while I enter my serial number. I don't want anybody stealing my Windows Windows OEM key or anything, you know. I mean, this is critically top secret stuff. Oh yeah, finish. Bad boy, go. So yes, if you are trying to install Windows 98, keep the RAM under 1 gig. Other cores will be recognized as network servers, perhaps foreign malicious hardware. Sound Blaster 16. Oh yeah, absolutely. I need a cracked Windows for some testing. Hey English Bob, how are you today? We're having fun with Windows 98. If you're just joining us. Because why not? I should really put Windows 95 on here, though. Computer complains he gets to it. It's an odd situation where Windows 98 actually infects the virus. Yeah, Ryan, that'll, my dad thinks Macs are virus proof. No, they're just not virus targets usually. Yeah, we'll let that thing, yeah, it's going to take longer to restart it than it is to actually install things. Boom! Look at that bad boy go. Oh, I have to go back and attend to my Windows 98 again. Wait until you hear it because it will actually boot up with sound in theory. Yeah, hey, why not? Tijuana, why not? Sounds good. I'm in Tijuana now, apparently. Sounds like a great place to go. Just downgraded Windows 10 11 way. Yeah, I know. Windows 10, that's awesome, you know. Yeah, I have Windows 10 if we want to install that too. Problem is it wants like well over a third of my hard disk to do it. Wait for it, wait for it. I think we're going to get sound this time. Oh, I have to re-enter the CD-ROM. Okay, we can do that. Apparently it's not done copying files yet. Nope. You guys remember doing all this crap with Windows? Yeah, it's in there. It's in there. It's in there. Of course, I have not had this problem installing it anywhere else. All right, we are going to force the computer down. I've not had this problem installing this on anything else. We're going to power off the machine. Just going to go ahead and give it a force reboot. See if this helps it. Oh, it found the Sound Blaster. It is in there. Yeah, this is back when installing computers sucked. Just double checking, making sure I put the Windows 98 back in there. All right, let me see if the virtual machine still sees it. Yeah, the virtual machine still sees it. See, I've installed Windows 98 on several different computers. I've not had this problem yet. Yep, restart. It's like Windows 10. Restart, restart, restart. Restart. I'm not sure why that file didn't get started up, but oh well. Let's see what happens here. All right, drivers are for girly men. Yes, they are. I know. If you install Windows 10, it will rewrite Virtualbox and patent it for Microsoft. Will claim court EULA allows them to do so? Probably. Take a look at this. I wrote a Python script for my Pi. Too dirty. Any What does that link tell me? What? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Trying to access and install files from C drive. Yeah, I see that. I'm just not quite sure why it's trying to do that. I'm not completely sure where on the disk those would actually be. Like I said, I've actually installed Windows 98 on several different computers recently, and for some reason, I've not run into any of these issues. And actually, like, source file is here, destination file is there, file was not found. So I think what it was doing is it was trying to copy files from the Windows 98 CD over onto the drive, but then the drive wasn't immediately available, so it didn't copy the files, and so now it's kind of stuck in this loop, which would not surprise me of Windows 98, because I can't even. The only option I can really do is I can cancel everything. Yeah, whatever. You have to restart the computer and do it all again. Yeah, this is actually the first time that that I've actually had a problem installing Windows 98. Now we're just kind of stuck in these new hard drive loops. Ooh, look at that. I didn't get sound, though, and that disappoints me dramatically. Oh, boy. Ooh, connect to the internet. The internet connection wizard. Yeah. Of course, over here I have my connect to the internet. Look at this, online services. Oh yeah, AOL, AT&T World Network, CompuServe, and Prodigy. The original bloatware. Mess with snooping ISPs. See, I'm not sure if adding anything to my browser history is going to mess with the ISPs, because adding it to my browser history does not intrinsically pass the information through the ISPs, though that would interfere with anybody trying to look at your local computer. All right, let's see if I'm going to go into my device manager. I'm going to see. Okay, sound actually says it's. No, it looks like my sound port's not there. Oh, Sound Blaster right there. Reinstall Sound Blaster driver. Let's see if I can get the Sound Blaster driver. It's in there. See, the problem I'm having right now, even with browsing, under my drivers, audio, Sound Blaster is not an option that I have. Maybe I actually had to find the Sound Blaster drivers online. Huh. Well, let's look for some Sound Blaster drivers, just for the fun of it. Windows 98 Sound Blaster drivers. Let's see if we can download ourselves a virus. What do you think? Ooh, click here for download. We'll just save the file for now. All right, so now what we're going to do is I can right-click here. I can compress and then compress it into an ISO image. We're going to go ahead and create that. And then now on my machine up here, what we're going to do is under Devices, Optical Drive, I'm going to choose a disk image from the desktop, Sound Blaster ISO, insert that. Now I'm going to go back into my properties, device manager, Sound Blaster, reinstall driver. Let's see if this finds it. See, it still wants to grab from there. I want to grab. Ha! There you are. All right, we're going to restart this thing, see if we get sound. After I get rid of all of this hardware crap. No. Hear that Windows 898 stuff? Thought that themes were still in here. Maybe themes didn't get installed for whatever reason. But there we are. Now we have a working Windows 98 with that. Well, mostly working. I think it's the network drives or not the things that's not working. Look at that. I can run Windows Update. They give you the option to run Windows Update. That's awesome. All right. Let's see. There's Windows 98. Of course, this is the first time I had the problem with those other drivers not showing up. Although they might be network things, it's very possible that the thing does not understand my Ethernet port. In fact, I'm going to test that theory. I'm going to go ahead and shut the computer down. And I'm actually going to disable the network, which is usually what I do in Windows 98 anyway. So I'm going to go into Settings, and then Network, disable the network driver. See what that does. No, well, it doesn't get me around those. Hear that awesome? Do you guys hear the awesome music? Wow. All right. You weren't installing, Robert, you weren't installing Windows 98 that day, were you? Only on my day off. Try to install a modem, try to install a modern virus, so we'll have a nervous breakdown. Are you going to test out that React OS file that you have? I can. I did a distro review of that, and actually I did tell the folks that I would go ahead and reinstall it on an actual hard drive. Now the speakers are loud, yeah. I went through that Win98 SE in 2000. It recognizes its alien technology. Try 28K dial-up? I should. What Linux would you have used when Windows 98 SE was Debian, of course. On Red Hat, it sucked. All right. All right, well, I think that was enough fun with Windows 98. Yeah, I'll go ahead and boot up the the React OS, may as well, since we're doing testing stuff. I'll go ahead and choose disk image. I think those are in Documents and Distros. Okay, so with React OS, although their website gives you the option to download, like one option, you either have to pick the live. I have to put this guy here back in its protective casing. I don't want anything to happen with Windows 98 key. There's only a limited number of these left. All right. So with React OS, if you want to run it live, you have to download the separate live ISO. If you want to try and install it, you have to download the other one, which does not say live, which is the installer. Of course, this is not Arch Linux or anything else. We're just going to go ahead and see if it's going to run right now. So we'll do LiveCD. And here's React OS. Of course, if you try and hit the install here, it says fails to install. That's part of the problem. It does not actually have the installer in it. So you can only run it as a LiveCD right now. So of course, with React OS, they're basically trying to build a system that is basically a reverse engineered version of Windows. So it should run any software that you had up to like the Windows XP era. I found this, and my main criticism about React OS is that it pretty much would not run anything any better than Wine would. And so with that, I'd rather run this computer and Wine than run React OS. As you can see, it looks like old version of Windows, which I'm not super convinced that keeping on the old version of Windows was necessarily what we all wanted to do, if you know what I mean. But when you go in here, it looks much the same. Here's your React OSD. Here's your C drive. We have a registry, control panel. And so you have all the same stuff. Is actually a web browser is in here, but it's not in the start menu for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I forgot to ask them that. But if you hunt around, libboot, let's see. It exists here somewhere. I don't know where, but there is actually a web browser on here somewhere, which kind of resembles IE6, which kind of scares me. All right, let's see how our comments doing. My speakers did survive. If they blow out, I have extra pairs. I couldn't get 28K dial-up working. I tried, but the internet crashed when Microsoft tried to send all of that user data about me through the system. It just ate it all up. KDE versus XFCE. That really depends, Thirsty Fox. If you have a better system, I like KDE just because I like that I can set up a computer exactly the way I like it and have it be modern. Like this computer is KDE and it totally rocks. I love how it's set up. XFCE, if you have a lighter weight computer, XFCE is really good for that. I think Peppermint runs, Bob's on right now. Bob will know that for sure. That was his favorite distro for a long time. I think XFCE is what's on Peppermint. And very good for a lower range computer. 48 megs of RAM, 3.2 gigabyte hard drive. How'd you find a hard drive that big? Though the first computer I ever had was a 1.6 gigabyte hard drive. It was a Cavalier, Western Digital Cavalier, which I still have. I still have the hard drive. I'm actually curious to put it in my Mad Dog and see what's actually on it. I have no idea what would be on it. But it was 1.6 gigabytes. He says you will never fill that hard drive. Windows 10 is updating itself. If it says, screw you, user, Cortana will disapprove. I always called Cortana the Eye of Sauron. In fact, that's what it's called on my my Evil Spy 10. It's actually listed there because I couldn't get rid of it, so I just put it under a file that said Eye of Sauron. Watches Windows 10 sell Bob's inland revenue docs to the Chinese. Cortana loves me long time and keylogs me back to Microsoft. Running Windows 10 home and I never get nagged for restarting. Lucky. Windows 10 on my laptop, it was stuck in a never-ending failed update loop. Would try installing updates, then fail, then repeat. It's a test of your character, Fox. Simply accept it. It's the will of Microsoft. Even worse was it needed to reboot 4 times to install the updates, fail, then reboot 6 times to revert back. Future of desktop computing. Not. All right. I miss IE5. If I remember correctly, I think Windows 98 actually has IE4 on it. Let's have a look. Let's go get rid of all this, through all this crap, and then hit that cancel button again. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it looks like I have to go through the internet connection wizard to get on there. Let's see. I want to sign up. I have an existing internet account through LAN. Oh, Lord, just let me on. No. Do I want to set up an internet mail account now? No, I'll be fine, thank you. No! Lord, no! Do you want to set your internet? No! Just stop. Just let me into Internet Explorer. Yeah, look at this bad boy. 4.0. I miss Vista. You know, I just wiped Vista off a hard drive the other day, actually. Which computer was that? Oh, that's this computer here. Yeah, this computer here is running off my hard drive that was Vista. I was like, why don't I keep Vista laying around? Wants me to try Office 365 free for a month. Yeah. Windows 11, Skynet. Yeah. Switch to Linux Mint 18.1 Peppermint because of internet connection issues with Mint, but I liked Mint's customizer better. Yeah, this is 18, I think 18.0 KDE, but once I upgraded it, like, I love Plasma, like KDE 5. It was an older version, and then when this version got installed on it through the updater, it was just so much more awesome. Loved it. PortableApps.com suite for React OS, many open source apps. I will look at that. Testing Mate 17.04 beta and VirtualBox right now. How's that working? I was having fun enough time with Unity. 10 upgrade did keep all my settings, so it's good, right? Yeah, I don't know. The one thing about the Windows 10 upgrade, occasionally they'd add new settings and default turn them on for you. That's what I found. IE 4.0, that's right. I should get on the internet with this thing. I should see how many viruses I can rack up in an hour. All right, well, we are over an hour. We've installed Windows 98. We've gone through and setting up a test Linux system. Comments are slowing down a little bit, so I think this might be a good time to end. And hey, congratulations, we did not make it to the end of the stream without, with it crashing on us. My stream crashed last night, unfortunately. All right. Vista ran me away from Windows entirely. I started using Windows a few weeks ago. I prefer Linux. Yeah. Windows 10 is what pushed me away. Vista was not bad as long as you had the system resources. But the problem with Vista really was the RAM had not caught up with the system requirements. And so if you had a computer that had like 3-4 gigs of RAM in it with Vista, it ran just fine. But a lot of your early Vista computers shipped with half a gig of RAM, and it required at least 2 to run well. And then, of course, once the service packs got put in, the thing was pretty much like Windows 7. And so I liked Vista after a while, but yeah, I had Vista like the first week it was out because my main computer I was working on my dissertation had crashed out, and so I bought a Vista computer, and oh man, that thing made me want to go and hurt myself or somebody else. And actually, that's the reason I won't use HP to this day, because of all that. All right. Leaves pile of disturbing cookies. Thanks. Cooper Tech, don't forget to send me that Sasquatch. Gonna do a lot of multiplayer truck streams if I can, but over on Peppermint Trucking channel. Alright. So I missed the beginning. Yeah, just an FYI, this stream happened kind of randomly because I had actually recorded the video and I had made a major mistake in how I did the screen captures, and a lot of the important stuff got left off. So rather than just recording the video again, I'm like, may as well live stream. Besides, the kitty was cooperating and already sitting there, so we got a chance to see the bodacious kitty cam without me having to wrestle a cat to sit there for a while, which is kind of fun. So yeah, my next live stream now, I might very well do an impromptu live stream tomorrow too, but my next planned one will be 9 o'clock on Friday, and if I think of it, I'll go ahead and schedule an actual event, but otherwise plan on 9 o'clock. And of course, 9 o'clock Eastern time, that's my time. So 9 o'clock New York City time on Friday, I'll plan on doing a news review. With all that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I went ahead and built myself this nice little exit screen so you can see the things that I'm using, and I'll tell you where I got my animated backgrounds from. With all that, see you guys later. Thanks for joining and watching, and have yourself a wonderful time switching to Linux.